Recording in progress.
Oh, I've been warned.
Right? I'm going to need to pour more of that. Hello and welcome everybody to the Blue Collar Philosophers podcast. This is your absolute favorite, best podcaster in the entire world, Biker Mike from Mars. And we have a guest co-host with us today because Devin wants to go to Chilliwack and be Orthodox and blah, blah, blah excuses. Right under the bus.
Right under.
Yeah. Today's guest is one of my best friends, Mr. Scott Wilks. Wilks.
Hello, everybody.
You
boost your numbers. Records will be flying off the shelf. We won't be able to keep units in stock.
Yes.
Because that's how podcasts work, right? You make this on vinyl records?
Yes. Yeah. It's cost us so much money. Nobody even buys them. I just make them for me. Funny thing. Do you remember my buddy Israel back in the day at Ben's wedding?
I remember.
Okay.
Yep.
So his brother was in a rock band, a punk band, and they were getting vinyls printed for their band. And Beyonce had a vinyl come out at the same time as they did. And for some reason, they were using the same distributor or whatever. And they accidentally printed this Canadian anarchist punk band vinyl on Beyonce's record and distributed it to the world. So people would go to listen to Beyonce and they were getting that. And it's like, what the fuck? So yeah, that's my, he turned into a bit of a D-bag. Not Israel. Israel's still great. I love that guy. But his brother.
You'd never believe a punk band that was an accident? Like they paid someone for that to happen.
I don't think they would.
Oh no, because punk bands have no money.
Yeah, that's that's what I mean. I'm like that. I just assume it's Watergate all the time. Like they accidentally do it.
They blackmailed someone at the record company to have that happen.
Yeah, we need you to distribute to the people least likely to ever listen to our music or enjoy it. Because honestly, it was underground punk. It wasn't like mainstream punk. It was anarchy, punk, rock, and it was Canadian and French. I don't remember if they sang in French, but
it's just angry without any of the heart behind it.
Yeah,
the reason. Yeah,
harder reason, and like very anti-Semitic in a lot of ways too, from what I remember. Maybe they're not. Maybe they changed. Who knows?
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, a whole lot of Jews control the world kind of ideas, and I'm like, I don't think that's right.
Well, it's a dangerous stance to take, because if you're wrong, then everyone's just going to call you on your wrong. If you're right, you're
putting your target on your back.
Those people, well, you're literally asking those people to distribute that stuff for you.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's just a double negative to
Yeah.
your whole becoming famous as a band.
And if you're super right, well, you're now putting a target on your back. And they're not going to distribute, and they're going to make your life an absolute hell, and which they didn't. So either they're really great at business and don't care. I don't know. Maybe it's 3D chess, and I'm not equipped to play. I don't care. I don't get into music. So all right, so I've heard this many times now, not just by you, but you started listening to our podcast.
Yes, I'm a 3-time listener, first-time caller.
Yes. Which means the bar is very low. If you want to come on this podcast, listen and connect with us.
Literally anyone.
Anybody. And you find yourself yelling at the radio from across the shop or wherever you're listening.
Well, I'm listening to it at work because I just put my headphones in and listen to whatever for 8 to 9 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. And I don't know if it's just our relationship and the precedent me and Ben have set with how we treated you for the longest time?
Oh, I got treated like dog shit. I really did. And you think that it would have changed while I was in a motorcycle club? No, I got treated like dog shit there as well. It was very funny.
I'm glad it's continued. Like, we worked so hard at establishing that standard.
Like, I'd stay up all night being on the phone with Amanda, or just be up really late, and you guys would be like, "Oh, look, a bed!" And you'd come and like jump on my bed while I'm trying to sleep in it.
Remember the time in the duplex when we flipped your mattress on you and started jumping on it?
No, I think that was a suppressed memory.
You started singing Avril Lavigne.
Was I drunk? No, I was
Not
still
anymore,
I was still in my sober phase at that point.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was going through this little thing of
thinking why we have to make things so complicated.
I vaguely remember. I do remember doing that at one point. So we've known each other a long time. I think that kind of sets a precedent there.
Okay.
And yeah, the proximity you and Ben had with me as a precedent, I guess you were saying.
I was thinking about it. It's been like 17 years.
Yes. Holy shit,
Yeah.
17 years. I did that at the wedding the other day. I'm like, I've known this person for 20, 25, God, close to 30 years. And I'm like, I'm feeling old. Yeah, when I said 25 years, I'm like, this is not good. So, yeah, being in proximity with me, knowing me, feeling like you should be able to interject in it. Yeah, feeling like you should be able to interject in the conversation that's happening between Devin and I, because you also met Devin and spent a little bit of time there. You're sitting there yelling at yourself because you got an earbud in, or trying not to yell at yourself and look insane.
Trying not to yell at myself and look insane. With a bunch of other bikers, actually, that I work with. Well, one of them's a biker. The other one's just British. Refuses to ride a bike, but he would be a biker. You know the type?
He'd ride a Triumph or like an Enfield, something that, you have to work on and never get to ride.
Yeah, but he drives old cars instead.
Oh, what kind of old cars?
Yeah. He's got a 33 Ford.
Oh, wow. So you're not like a little old, not like a 70s or whatever, but...
No, he's into the old stuff. First generation kind of car, second generation kind of car.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I noticed today, because I was listening to, the Free Will episode.
Which I kind of, if I remember our recording, we said don't listen to that one.
I know, that's why I listened to it.
You're like, I am ashamed of that episode. It was too long. We were too drunk.
3 hours.
I tried to cut it off. And here's the thing. You said, hey, you could have distributed it in 2 separate episodes. Nay, because you would have listened to the first half, realized that we were getting half drunk, and then listen to the second half and be like, why are these guys so drunk? Oh, yeah, it's just a continuation.
In the second half, I was like, this is not an episode on its own, and people would be very lost.
Mm-hmm. It was a horrible episode. I do not recommend that one. The first half is pretty good.
But I noticed it's just like I have thoughts to bring into the conversation, and Devin usually gets to my point eventually.
Yeah.
You less so, but you have your own way.
I do have my own way. I like my way. My way is fun and interesting. Even when I text him about podcast ideas, I'm like, hey, I have an idea for a podcast. And I would put out the precedent of what I think we should get to and what I think our conclusion would normally come to. And he's like, yep. He's like, there's no podcast there. I'm like, yes, there is. You just have to be an asshole.
But I'm also a terrible podcast subscriber because I'm not on social media anywhere, so I can't help promote or add to your numbers at all. I just bug you with texts in the middle of the day while you're trying to pipeline.
Yeah, which is easy to do because pipeliners barely work. I honestly, a lot of driving voice to text. So if I ever send you a text and it looks like wrong or incorrect, just the voice to text. So...
Well, apparently the trick to that is you go to voice to text and read out what you said, and then it should translate it for you.
It should. It really should. And so you want to interject, you want to say something, especially with the free will one, which I find to be a very interesting thing because are you a Calvinist or an Arminian when it comes to free will? Do you believe in the idea of free will or do you believe in
Oh,
predestination?
absolutely.
You do.
100% free will.
Okay, so you're not on the even the atheistic argument of predestination by ancestral um, decisions. Like you're not
I believe
predestined.
you're influenced by the way your brain was programmed,
Yeah,
but that doesn't necessarily predetermine what decision you're going to make.
yeah, and I agree with that because as a bit of a materialist, we cannot evolve as a species if we are constantly going back to our preset programming. Right? There's no
That's
evolution. There's no,
absolutely.
and so you need to be constantly evolving and constantly changing. I said this to my father the other week, and I said, free will is a choice. And as simple as that sounds, it's profoundly true. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're being conscious of your decisions and what you're doing, you're able to weaponize. I guess would be a good way. You're able to weaponize your free will but when you've just made a choice without really making it, you kind of going with the flow, allowing life to happen to you as opposed to you happening to it. You're not using your free will. You're just coasting. You're
Yeah,
reacting.
that was a really good point. Actually, I hadn't thought about that too deeply until you brought it up.
Yeah. I remember because I went to the bathroom. And when I came back from going to the bathroom, I'm like, oh, I had an epiphany while peeing. So, I do
That's
remember
why
that
I
part.
peed before I answered your call about this podcast.
I didn't. Whiskey. So, yes, I do recommend. The thing is, I would love to redo the free will episode, but with more minds or better mouths and just.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. You need at least a moderator
Yeah,
between
so
you and Devin.
yeah, and now that Devin has converted to Orthodoxy, I would love to see how that changes.
I was starting that episode too about what him converting, and I was like, that seemed kind of random. But then when he mentioned that he was Catholic before, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Or no, well, he was a Mennonite before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I still I can't answer for him, and people ask me questions. That's the really fun part. My dad, he's like, "Oh, but why?" I'm like, "I have no idea. Why would I'm not Orthodox." He's like, "Oh yeah, but what about this?" And my dad was formerly Catholic, and so he's expecting me to be able to go to bat for Devin, and I'm like, "No, no, I got
got
nothing.
nothing.
You have to talk to
I
him."
mean,
And oh, another
um,
great episode was the baptism one with my father when he came on.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
Oh shit. Uh, this might have to be strictly a YouTube episode. I've got a write error apparently on my thing about 13 minutes in.
Uh-oh.
It's all right. This is recording just fine. It's just my
Or you can steal the audio off this.
fuck. Yeah, good.
It might not be great, but
Might not be great. It is what it is. Um. Anyways,
my thought process is I don't care what denomination you are. Christian is Christian,
yeah,
and whatever add-ons we'll call them that you need to have to keep you in a relationship with God is
yeah,
purely between you and Him.
yeah. So what did you think of the ecumenical thinking one?
That went everywhere too. No,
It did.
I've not just the free will one, but I'd never heard that word before,
I
and
hadn't either, and I had to do some research on it. I'm like, what? Big word. And I'm glad that I can say it now. It's ecumenism and ecumenicalism, and I'm like, I've got it. I'm not drunk.
I'm not even gonna try.
It is a very difficult word. It's so
Yeah,
frustrating. Only from practicing it over and over and over again and realizing how stupid I sound when I do say it incorrectly. Do I push to say it better? So
it was a good episode. I agreed with you that it's never gonna work.
yeah, I almost feel I don't know if the
But then
word
basically, if you boil it down to what it needs to be, then we kind of already are at the same time.
yeah,
Like, to be Christian, you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and welcome him into your heart and strive to live by his rules.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do to call yourself a Christian. And
yeah,
if you're doing that, then it doesn't matter, right? So
yeah. And so it is, and it is recognizing a lot of who he is and what he's done, and actually accepting it and getting out of your own way a lot of the time. Because that is a difficult part, is getting out of your own way and saying, if I could do it, then I would have, maybe.
Yeah.
and getting to that point, but it is what it is. All right, so you've been listening for a little bit, trying not to yell at the radio, feel like you want to interject, and like you do have something to say, and so I'm like, hey, Devin's
That's usually when I text you.
That's usually when you text me, and I was thinking, oh, Devin's gone. I need somebody to fill in. I really do. I texted one other guy, and before even getting a response from him, you were texting me just throughout the day, and I'm like, Scott, I have Zoom. We don't use this. I'm paying $100 a year for something so I can do all this shit, and I haven't utilized it to the best of its ability. The thing is, we want to.
As you were saying to Sean is that you usually would reserve this for more important people, but I appreciate that.
No, people that may not make it to Fort St. John, like guys that are stuck in the States, and I'm like, okay, we can't have them in person.
May not make it to the butt crack of the world.
Yeah, it really is. It's they call it the John for a reason.
We've had this conversation a few times, actually. I think.
Yeah.
About how I live in Calgary, and anywhere you fly in Western Canada flies through Edmonton or Calgary. So I'm literally on the way to anywhere.
Yep.
And specifically have to go to Fort St. John to visit you. So it was on you to come visit me.
Yes, it was. And here's the thing. I was talking about that last night with the wife. I'm like, I was texting Scott, and she's like, oh, how's he doing? And we were chatting a little bit, and she said, oh, I hope they come up for a visit, because you said I need a bed or hotel or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And then she's like, oh, I hope Megan comes. I really enjoyed my time with Megan. Come on, you drug her like they did in the A-Team.
Hates anything north of Red Deer.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone does.
We went to Valley View for your cousin's wedding, and every 15 minutes she's like, we there yet? It's been forever.
You got to fly up here then.
For an hour and a half, babe. Sorry.
You got to fly here. Well, I'll figure something out for vehicles. I'll figure everything out. Just come see me.
I will this time.
The thing is, if we can convince Megan that Amanda missed her enough and really wants to see her, maybe. Because the thing is, when you go to my cousin's wedding in Valley View, you're going for my cousin. You're going for you. But if you can turn this around and say, this is for Amanda. This is not for... You just got to make it less about you and less about me, obviously. And say, Amanda misses you. She really did enjoy her time hanging out with us. How late did we stay up? 2 a.m. or something like that?
You stayed up even later than I did with my parents.
Yeah, we stayed up drinking Bullet and just hanging out and chilling until God knows what time. And then I had to wake up, MC a wedding on a Wednesday. So that means we were drinking on a Tuesday.
I was drinking on a Tuesday and then went to work on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
That's right. And then I got back at about 1:30 in the morning. And we hung out in the morning before you went back to work. And
then you scared the hell out of me showing up in my kitchen at 6 o'clock in the morning to come say goodbye.
Well, I wasn't going to let you out. I'd feel like I know I was up to 2 in the morning, maybe even 2:30. And I'm like, no, Scott, let us stay in his house. I'm going to meet him for breakfast or whatever I can do to hang out with him. Because, fucking...
It was a great visit, despite how short it was.
So I look forward to doing it again. You have no idea. I'm looking for an excuse to get out of... Leave the kids here again and go there. But for longer and not on a fucking Wednesday, Travis. So... Anyways, so that's when we started hanging out then. And Then you started listening to the podcast. You're like, oh, Mike's not retarded. I hope you're thinking Mike's not as retarded as he used to be.
Well, I remember you were telling me about starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Doing like 3 episodes or something like that. And I asked you what it was called, and you never answered me.
Oh, did I not?
Finally, when I learned what it was actually called.
That's so funny. Well, here's the thing. I still am whoring myself out in every single way on Facebook and Instagram, and I fucking hate it. I really do.
I'm the guy who has none of that.
I'm jealous. I am so jealous of people that don't have it, while simultaneously recognizing that it helps with our numbers. It really does. Like promoting it. I got video of Devin dressed as a hippie singing "Born to Be Wild," and I shared it on Instagram because, yeah, we were at a party, and that's how you promote the podcast, is by going on Instagram and just showing stuff like that, and then people click on it and check us out.
And in more and more scantily clad outfits.
I didn't.
That you're looking at.
I did realize something about Instagram girls, though. If they ever do one of those short ones, they're like, "Oh, see me in this outfit if you can pause fast enough." I'm like, technically, you click on their profile thing, it shows all their pictures. They're going to be wearing it eventually. Like, they're just going to show it off. There's no tagging or pausing. I'm like, you guys are all dumb.
Girl buys an outfit for a split second.
They're all fake. They're all fake people. I can't believe it. You wouldn't believe how many messages I get from like bot accounts. They're like, "Oh, you should friend me. Oh, send me. Check out my website."
I've heard more and more of them aren't even actual real people anymore. Like pictures of real people, like they're AI generated.
Mm-hmm. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. So that's one of the reasons I hate social media, because it is. It's all fake. It's not real life, because you turn it off and it's gone. It no longer exists. The second you turn it off, it's you're not influenced by it. You're not affected. It's not affecting my pocketbook, because I'm not getting paid to do this shit. So yet, and when I do, I'm going to do it spitefully. I'm gonna be like, "Don't you fucking hate advertising? Me too." Check out our podcast.
My $10 check in the mail, Mike. My $10 check in the mail.
So, yeah. It's just one of those things that we do so that other people can hear this, and we'll spread like Joe Rogan did, just by word of mouth after that. I'm praying for that moment. I already got to be on Sean Newman's podcast, which was so
Joe
good.
Rogan was already a famous...
that is true, because he's still a kickboxer. He's still a Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master person, and UFC commentator, comedian, and everything else that he does.
I feel very much in the minority, because I do not listen to him at all.
No? His comedy is really good. It's very fun, and it's what you want to hear.
It's probably before his podcast, so shortly after he just started doing UFC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I chuckled, but it didn't catch my attention, so I guess he just flew past my radar.
Yeah, well, if you get a chance, go on Netflix and check out his latest one. It's actually quite good. He crawls up on a bar stool and acts like a demon on a bedpost of Bruce Jenner before he became Caitlyn Jenner, and said, "You want to be on Vanity Fair magazine?" Like, he impersonates a demon very well. It's a lot of fun. So I'd give it a listen. That and Bill Burr, Paper Tiger, that one's gold, and all the Dave Chappelle stuff is really good. So
I'm old school.
Yeah, me too. But this Dave Chappelle, between you quitting social media and this, he took that long of a hiatus out of comedy. So you're getting old school Chappelle, just not he didn't change. He's still the same guy. Yeah. He's still funny. He's still great. So
I've been listening to Conan O'Brien's podcast.
I have not.
it's all just ludicrous, insane nonsense.
Yeah. Is it good though?
It's funny.
Is it funny?
It's funny.
Because he was
especially when Martin Short.
Okay.
Because Martin Short just tears him apart all the time.
That's good.
But as far as comedians go, I really like Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan.
Yeah.
Tom Papa.
Did you get into Brett Crusher?
Not so much. I watched a little bit of Tom Segura.
Yeah.
And then Dusty Slays. Have you ever listened to him?
No.
Oh my gosh, he's hilarious. He has this one joke about good money. He said, growing up, you got 3 types of money. You got old money, which is generational.
Yeah.
You inherited your money. You got new money, which is tech money. You come into your money. He's like, then you got good money. He's like, I grew up with good money. Good money never buys you anything you want. Good money buys you an airbrushed t-shirt from the state fair with your name on it. And when you complain about it to your mom, she says, I paid good money for that.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, okay.
He talks about growing up in a trailer park, which I did several times. So
you did. You did.
With that.
I remember those days.
The A-frame was lap of luxury for me.
Oh, really? Because you had shingles?
Right?
They weren't my shingles, but they were good shingles.
On it to put a forklift at some point.
I forgot that you were in the A-frame with me for a little bit. You had the bigger part of the upstairs, but
you had I didn't have the upstairs.
Door.
I had the main.
Oh, that's right. You had the big room in the back.
Yeah, you got the other guys after I moved out.
Yeah, that's right.
In there at first.
Fuck, that
was supposed to be me and Jesse, but Jesse didn't come.
Jesse flakes. Jesse always flakes. I haven't seen that guy. He's close to you.
Yeah, I saw him walking down the street one day.
He's starting a podcast too.
About photography or music?
Well, it has an upside down pineapple on it. So
swinging.
I assume. I don't know what he's going to call it.
He's swinging an airdrie. So if he was here, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just describing what I saw on his Facebook, and I'm like, see, I don't need to disappoint more than one woman at a time. I don't know why these people need to go out of their way and just ruin everybody's day. Just focus on one, and you'll do a great job.
Right? You'll do a great job of disappointing her.
Yeah.
You'll do it to the best of your ability.
I know I'm good at that. Hence, I could do it whenever I want. I do it every day. Disappoint her, that is.
One of the random stupid thoughts I had today when you were talking about, in whatever episode I was listening to, how your instant reaction to someone telling you not to do something is to do it.
Yeah.
I was going to text you like, Mike, don't you dare buy your wife flowers today.
She would love it. She loves flowers.
She'd be like, why? What did you do wrong?
Unprovoked flowers? I should do that tomorrow. And just say, just say nothing and be like, here you go. But I want to buy beer at the same time.
So?
That's what I do every paycheck. I'm getting paid tomorrow. So every paycheck I buy one 15-pack of beer. That's it. So despite what everyone sees on the podcast where I'm sitting here drinking every single time that I'm on here, and every time you listen to me I'm drinking.
You only drink one beer a day.
I do have one beer a day. Or a bottle of whiskey.
Not counting all the hard alcohol with the empty bottles behind you. But only one beer a day.
One beer a day. But if I'm with friends and we're hanging out, I'll crack a bottle of whiskey and we're gonna go through it. But it's not my go-to. We did. That's it. I don't need more, and I won't even do that most days because the 15-pack doesn't last between each paycheck. Amanda drinks beer too, so yeah. It's a 15-pack will last a week, and then that's it. I just don't buy another one.
I'm lucky. All my liquor stays exactly the same as the last time I left it.
That's right. Your wife doesn't drink. Oh, my
I
wife's
had
got it.
to suffer through a liver transplant with my wife going through
Yeah, but
to
you got to keep hearing
get
about it.
that benefit. But
It's
I would say it's exactly as much as I left of it.
yeah. That's how did you manage that? Like, can I get my wife on the same?
Well, you got to find a girl with a liver disease first of all.
That's I already messed up. Uh,
Yeah,
she's
you
got
and your healthy wife,
yeah, right.
you dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, but so did she when her dad said marry rich. She married me instead. So we all have
I
our.
agree completely that you are your wife's rebellious phase.
I stand by that. I really do, because she hasn't learned yet. She signed a document like that said forever, and she does exactly what she said she would do, in spite of herself. So, all right. So I realize we're rabbit holing, and you can see how the rabbit holes happen now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
All our conversations are rabbit holes.
Yes, we kind of had a topic chosen, and we're gonna dabble into it a little bit.
If you want to, if we don't, that's totally fine.
That is totally fine. But at the same time, I would love to dabble into what you were thinking of, because my brain goes one direction, yours goes another. And I would love to hear what... I asked you what you want to talk about, and you said your mind has been a lot on music lately, specifically church worship music and stuff like that. What is it about church worship music that really catches your attention and makes it so it comes to front of mind? Is it the metaphysiological effects that it has on people to actually heal and bring you into a higher state of mind, or just music in and of itself, the art, the technicality?
The metaphysical aspect of it is very cool, but it's never the forethought when I think about worship music. It's very much the artistry and the music of it, because I've been on worship teams since I was 12. So.
And you play drums?
I did. I now play guitar and I sing. Worst mistake they ever did.
Yeah, most. As a person who speaks on a microphone for fun, I'm very fucking good at this. Like my volumes are quite consistent as far as I can tell.
It's like it hasn't been consistently nonstop, but I started with drums. Actually, technically, I started when I was about 5, when we first started going to a Christian church rather than a Catholic church. My dad very quickly started doing sound with a music soundboard and everything like that, mixing all the things. I helped him, and I've been doing that up until 2 years ago when we switched venues, and I deliberately stayed away from the soundboard so I could actually get away from being behind it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, since I was about 12, so that's 22 years, 23 years I've been on a worship team. Give or take a year off here and there.
Yeah.
So music is a big part of my life. And right now, our church is doing the thing that they think they need to do, but I'm kind of having a hard time with knowing the psychology behind like a set list and how you draw people into worship, as you're supposed to be a worship leader.
Like a rigid form set list of, we're doing this song, we're doing chorus verse, whatever.
Not so much that, more like more upbeat songs like praise and drawing people's attention and everything like that. Collecting the room,
mm-hmm.
and then leading them into worship, as opposed to, because God bless him, my pastor is one of my best friends. I love him to death. He very quickly can enter in and just worship right away.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what's going on. You can just drop everything and start worshiping, which is amazing. But most Christians aren't like that.
No.
Most people in church are very distracted.
New Christians especially. Like people who are new off the street, don't know anything about what's going on. Even the very idea of having a stage singing into the sky and these love songs that are, borderline boy bands for Jesus, it's really difficult for some people to recognize that there's something happening here and just go along with it.
Right?
So
there's a lot of psychology behind reasons why you'll play a more kind of draw people's attention. Then you start to set the mood after that, and then you enter in. It's hard to do in 4 songs, which a lot of churches are doing now.
Oh, just 4?
Yeah. Well, we're a mobile church, right? So we're not in our own place. We got limited amount of time. So we've narrowed it down to 4. Then it's the sermon. Then we get back up to 1 more, and then it's like announcements and offering and everything like that. So it's a different format than most churches, but I've been struggling with it a little bit, trying to bring the science back into why we did it the way we've kind of done it for the last 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
Versus, well, we really like these songs, we're just going to play them. It doesn't matter what half the church is struggling with.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that my church has been doing very recently was playing tracks from my youth. Like stuff that really impacted me when I was 18, 19 years old. Transitioning phase of what I thought I was to, or still in my adolescence, my youth, my fire, my inspired phase. And so when I'm hearing these songs for the first time in a long time, I am blown away by the emotional response I have to them.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to sing them with the same emotional vigor that I had in my youth. I'm like, this brings me back, and the feeling that they had. And music is so strange the way that it can do that by simply tapping into something, especially
very emotionally tied for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like hearing a song that you ever listen to an old CD that you hadn't listened to in a long time? There was an old POD album or Thousand Foot Crutch.
I was listening to their debut album yesterday. POD.
Yeah, the
Human Youth of the Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Youth of the Nation wasn't actually their debut album. That was their satellite album. That was their first big album. I don't remember which one is their debut.
One before that?
What's that?
It had one before that called POD, wasn't it?
No, they had the Fundamental Elements of Southtown, Snuff the Punk, and the Brown album, I think. Yeah.
I thought Southtown came in after.
No, Southtown came in before Satellite.
What was the one after Satellite then? What was that called?
Oh, I don't remember the one after Satellite.
Because unfortunately that's when I stopped listening to POD.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, so there was a bunch of other, but Snuff the Punk and Fundamental Elements of Southtown were phenomenal. But you listen to like old DC Talk or Thousand Foot Crutch was a big one for me.
I never got into Thousand Foot Clutch. No? I was alternative when they were coming out. So
okay,
you remember me? I was cocky and very self-assured.
Yeah, but you also listened. Was it ska you listened to quite a bit of?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were big into the ska. And then I remember going to a party and there was this bit of a no true Scotsman fallacy that was happening among you and a couple other people. One guy was into ska as well, but he wasn't ska enough, or you weren't ska enough for him, or whatever. I don't know. They just make the assumption of, well, you listen to them, well, they're not that good because this one's better. And I'm like, you've heard of the no true Scotsman fallacy, where as Scottish as you might be, you're not really Scottish. You might live there your whole life or be from there, but you're not really Scottish.
Right.
So, but it's the same thing when it comes to some genres of music, because you're like, oh, I'm alternative. It's like, are you though? Because I remember somebody told me, it's like, oh, I listen to indie music. And I'm like, yeah, I listen to indie music myself. It's like who? And I'm like, oh, Disciple. They're from Indiana. Because I didn't know indie. And then I learned very slowly that indie doesn't mean what. But again, it was a lot of I was listening to them before they were cool, the whole Alexis on Fire and shit like that. Because that's what it was. That's what indie was back in the day. But yeah, this whole idea of what music does to people, and especially in a worship setting, of wanting a certain structure, but how much do you push back on the leadership that's saying, hey, I hear what you want, I'm the pastor, and this is what I think we should be doing. And I imagine it would be difficult to submit. I like that word, submit.
Well, there's other levels to it too.
He's not listening, so you're good.
That's what I was just going to say. You stole my joke.
How long have we known each other?
Right? The lead, I'm a worship leader.
Yeah.
Because I've been there for so long, but I don't have a team that I lead. Our overhead leader is my sister-in-law.
Oh.
Who gave half her liver to my wife. So how hard do you find that?
That gets brought up at every meeting. So I think that I gave half my liver.
My liver?
So you could. I gave half so you could shut the fuck up. Oh, that would.
Don't get me wrong. I love her. She's great.
Yeah, I assume. That is the problem with people that would give half their liver. They'd be like, they're still great people, which makes them fucking annoying. She's not listening either.
Literally righteous.
Mm-hmm. So, I would like to point something out when it comes to music that's really strange to me. If you look at the breakdown of what music really is, it is vibrations coming from string or wind or string or wind instruments that are creating vibrations to hit in a certain tone, or percussion as well, and they come together in an amalgamation that just makes this sound. And for some reason, we have this physical, emotional, mental response to something that literally affects the way that our mood. It affects our bodies. It affects both sides of our brain. They used to think that only left side or right side. It's like, no, it affects both.
It affects your entire body.
Oh, everything. You can actually heal better when listening to the right kinds of music and putting yourself in certain physical, emotional states, and because of the music you surround yourself with. It's so weird. And it's like, but what is it? It's just vibrations.
Right? Do you remember when I was a DJ for weddings and parties?
Yes, very much.
Deliberately tuned our subs to a certain frequency that was so low you can't really recognize you're hearing it, but suggested that you drink more.
That does help. Except for the guy who comes over and says, "Can you play Metallica? Hey, can you play some Slayer?" I had to DJ a wedding. I had a DJ Christmas function last year for the very first time. Fucking hated it. It's so frustrating. People are like, "Hey man, can you play Slayer?" I'm like, "No, I can't play Slayer."
We were one of the first companies to stop using CDs, so we just had a computer with a bunch of AC3 files in it. It had like 10,000 songs on the computer. Yeah. And you'd notice when someone walks in with 10,000 songs of CDs, there would be milk crates of CDs everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But this one guy at a wedding was so drunk, he didn't realize that I had not swapped a CD yet. The entire time I was there, I had no CDs with me. Yet he stood next to my desk, stomping as hard as he could, trying to make the music skip.
No.
He'd stomp and stare out at the dance floor and wait for people to not dance on beat anymore because the CD skipped. And he did it for like 15 minutes, not realizing that it's not going to work.
Ah, drunk people. That's so funny. Yeah.
That's my favorite part about being a DJ, is watching drunk people.
Do you know what my least favorite part was? Being called DJ.
Yeah.
So if you're at a party, don't call the DJ DJ. He has a fucking name. Learn it. It helps.
My boss was a good guy, Vince. would always introduce me as DJ Scotty Too Hottie. Hated it. Trying to convince people that he was in contact with, like he took all the bookings and stuff like that. He's like, no, his name is Scotty Too Hottie.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna punch you in the face, Vince. I don't care if you're 100 pounds larger than me.
Roided to the nines. He was a roid monkey at the time. I don't know where he's at now. Yeah, Vince, I haven't seen him in forever.
And drunk people tip really well.
You got tips?
Oh yeah, like they'd slip me a 20. Like I'm DJing a wedding, like requests or nothing. Absolutely, I'll play the song you want to hear.
Yeah.
Slip me a 20, be like, can you play this song next? And you're like, you got another 10?
That's so funny. I didn't get tipped at all, or even offered a tip. I might not have been very
doing that. It was ridiculous.
With that being said, when I was at a wedding and they didn't give me a table order to like disperse people on, I'm like, I will be bought. I like bourbon. So the first table that brought me a bourbon will go next.
I was just at my brother-in-law's wedding a couple weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the MC, who I've known for a long time, made that joke too.
Oh, really?
Literally, one of the girls at our table grabbed the change out of her pocket. It was like $1.47 or something like that. It was no money whatsoever. Ran up there and just handed it to her. What? We were the first table after the head table to eat.
Wow, for $1.40. That's why I asked for alcohol itself. I'm like, just bring me a drink. I'll trust you. I might be getting drugged right now. Maybe. But I know all these people. They wouldn't. Most of them won't drug me. Now thinking about it, that was a bad idea. Why did I do that? Don't drug your MC.
You're a very trusting person.
I am a trusting person. But people like me. It's fine. Surprisingly, people like me. There are a lot of things not to like about me, and people like me. I'm like, interesting.
You were very trusting that Nick wasn't going to kill you when you asked to date his daughter.
Yes, but he did threaten to. And he's like, you hurt her.
And then you reminded him that you lived with me and he hated me more.
He did hate you so much.
I don't know why.
He had a teenage daughter. I'm going to assume he had a teenage daughter who had the potential of having a crush on you. Not that she did, but she was in that range of like, I must hate you. But really, that
was the drummer of the youth group. I understand.
Yeah. But his wife drums. Maybe he knew that. He's like, drummers, I don't trust him anymore. So, anyways, back to music. Music is such a weird, stupid thing. But what's the alternative to it? You'd be like, oh yeah, it's dumb. Well, let's get rid of it. Well, no, we're not doing that. No one has ever proposed getting rid of music. As stupid as it is, as illogical. I'll use the word illogical. It is. It's absolutely illogical.
Cool.
It doesn't make any sense except for the fact that our human brain loves patterns. We really do.
Those balancing, they love the balancing of the frequencies.
The balancing of frequencies, the patterns, because you're getting a consistent drum set. And what happens, my guess is that we love recognizing patterns, that if we can have them consistently together, there is a dopamine being released, because every single time we find a pattern, our brain releases dopamine. And so when you can see that many happening all at once, we can say, oh, look at all this, and it affects us on a huge scale, like to an unbelievable degree. So maybe that's part of it. It's our, well, if you're an evolutionary person, which I kind of I find myself in that camp more often than not.
Well, even if you take the Bible word for word,
yeah,
God didn't invent days and nights till the third day.
Mm-hmm.
So what were the first 2 days and nights?
Don't ask questions. That sounds like you just Satan over here and spewing disbelief.
Later on, it says, to God, a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day.
Just trying to confuse people, sending them straight to hell. I know. It's such a which
Almost like it's meant to be thought provoking, so you think about it, and
or at least poetry. At least poetry.
It's poetry, but
yeah.
I think, as Proverbs says, above all, seek wisdom, and the Bible promotes seeking wisdom.
Yes.
So
yeah. Why? That's the funny part when people try to rip on the Bible. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you do not like the idea of seeking wisdom. And Proverbs, which is a book of Proverbs, which is a general truth. It doesn't mean absolute truth. I don't like it when these Christian people come out and be like, the Proverb says this. And I'm like, that's a general truth, not an absolute truth. Because there are exceptions to Proverbs. Because, do you know what's funny? Discretion doesn't always look like wisdom. We're
right.
taught to have discretion in some areas, and it's like, oh, well, don't put pearls before swine. It's like, well, my kid's a little bit of an asshole sometimes. I'm not going to encourage him because that might be putting pearls before swine. It's like, or recognize when your kid is doing something good and encourage him. Don't just blanket statement everything and be like, well, I'm not going to encourage somebody just because, well, it might be putting pearls before swine. So.
Right. I had a similar conversation once with someone about how it says, honor thy father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if your father and mother aren't Christian?
Mm-hmm.
How do you honor them when their values are different than yours?
Well, yeah.
Or aren't biblical whatsoever?
Well, then you have to break down the word honor. What does it mean to honor?
Exactly.
And so when you look at the word honor, from my best understanding, it's to do right by. Well, how do you do right by them?
It doesn't mean blindly obey.
Yes. It doesn't even say to love. Do you know what's that one really irks people? When you're like, oh, the Bible says to love your parents. It's like, no, it doesn't. Fucking says honor them.
Well, your parents are still people in the world, and you're supposed to love your neighbor, and your neighbor is everyone. So.
Yes, but how we love them is very distinct between
people you love by staying away from them.
Well, I love some people I love by moving as far away as I can, or not hitting with my car. That's sometimes a form of love.
That is exactly a form of love that I understand completely, and I'm related to those people.
So sometimes it's not always what we assume it to be. Sometimes it looks very different. So we love people differently. And same thing when it comes to honors them. We honor our parents by trying our best to be the best kind of person that we can be, as earnest and faithful and good to the best of our ability, even though it may not line up with them, hoping that what we're doing is the most right thing.
Absolutely.
And
because you're supposed to honor God first and your parents after that. So
yeah,
if it's contradictory, it's contradictory. You got to go with God.
Yeah. I had that problem a little while ago where I got I don't want to I got mentally challenged to somebody's like, who is your devotion to? Who's your loyalty to? I'm like, well, my loyalty is first and foremost to God. Like, over any kind of brotherhood, my loyalty should be to God, because the Bible says very clearly, your love for all things will look like hate compared to your love for God. Not to say you hate your brotherhood or hate your family or wife or whatever, but the love that you have for God should be so amazing it supersedes any kind of loyalty or love you have for anything else in the world. So the most right answer I could give in that moment was my absolute devotion is to God. My absolute loyalty is to God. And that was drawing some things into question that really shouldn't have been. And no longer in that environment, so I'm not worried about it anymore.
That's good.
Yeah. Happy.
They're asking those kind of questions. You don't want to be with those kind of people.
Yeah, that happens.
That being said, Jesus hung out with tax collectors, whores, and drunkards.
Whores and drunkards, yes. Just kidding. Just drunkards. My wife is poking her head in, and she's only hearing half of the conversation. She can't hear you.
You can tell her I said hi.
Oh, Scott says
That's
hi.
on you.
Hi, Scott.
She says hi. Do you want scotch?
No, I'm alright.
Okay.
I can smell it, though.
She can smell it, apparently. Oh, she's been home for a little bit. So yeah, like, what kind of friends are you surrounding yourself with? Because The Bible's pretty loose when it comes to some of that stuff. Because if you're a person above reproach, you can be friends with whores. I don't recommend it, but I don't go to a whore.
How confident are you that you're a person above reproach?
Exactly. If hypothetically I'm gonna go hang out with a whore, my wife's gonna be there with me. Other people are gonna be there with me to hold me to account, to be like, hey, no, I was there.
Maybe you'll find 12 dudes to hang out with you as you hang out with.
Right? I'll hang out with drug dealers. I'll hang out with drunkards and people of very sorted backgrounds that most people won't hang out with. I'm good with.
Right?
Ooh, that reminds me, I got a great poker game on Saturday. Speaking of drunkards and people of...
check the deck. Just not stereotyping anybody, but make sure there's 52 cards. They're all different.
Oh, that's so funny. I just got a new deck of cards today given to me. I should just bring that and be like, this is just a case. But nothing's
I love
worse.
you all, but I also know who you are, so this is a brand new deck. We're gonna be playing with it.
But he came to me, he's like, hey, Mike, I'm doing a poker game. This is upcounting Saturday. This was a while ago. And he's like, I'm only inviting 10 people. I'm like...
Only 10 people.
Okay. Is this an invite, or are you just telling me about it? Like, I was just like, am I in? Or you just be like, I'm only inviting 10 people. You're not one of them. I'm like, come on,
no,
man.
He's not. That's what we would do.
That is exactly what we would do.
I think we have, actually.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know.
Do you remember shopping cart jousting at the A-frame?
Oh, I do remember you guys building cardboard armor.
That was for the shopping cart jousting.
I didn't get invited to that.
That's because you were always on your computer with Amanda.
That's right. That's when I was courting her, trying to get her attention enough. It worked.
Or was she Australia or something like that?
She was in Australia. Actually, probably at the time she was in Japan, but she was on a YWAM in Australia, and then she went to Japan, and then she's like, oh, I'll be at a reception. And I just told her how I felt, and then she went into no man's land, and this is before Facebook told you that they've seen the message or not, so I assumed she's seen it and then ghosted me. So, yeah, it was a stressful time in my life.
For the record, you were always invited. You were just distracted.
Yes. You guys have never excluded me except for one time out of a band. And I charged you.
Nowhere. So
I charged you to play in my garage at the A-frame when you moved out. Ben was like, "Oh, we're gonna be in a band. You want to? Can we practice in your garage?" Fuck you guys. I never got paid.
Drummers. You think that was going anywhere?
Oh, that was such a good time. I miss those times.
For anyone who is even wondering, which I doubt anyone is, shopping cart jousting was...
oh, yes.
We procured shopping carts from Walmart because we weren't working there at the time, by any means.
Yeah, because nobody left them out all right.
And folded them into shapes where you could straddle it like a horse. Yeah. And then we found pool cues, and we pushed the shopping carts at each other as fast as we could, jousting with pool cues.
I forgot about the pool cues. Where did we get the pool cues?
They were in the garage.
So they weren't ours.
No, they were the whites.
They were just there. The white people. We're not going to say which white people they were. They were just white people. They don't listen, I assume.
I'm pretty sure none of them were white, blue colors, so.
No, they're too snobby. No offense, but they're snobs. They were always snobs.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you.
Good-looking snobs, but snobs nonetheless. Yeah.
That was the joke in my old shop. When anything went wrong with a client or anything like that, and just be like, white people.
That's funny. Do you know who I blame? I'll be like, oh, you see that sky today? Fucking Jews. It's a joke. I have to say that. It's a joke.
My new joke? I've I'm convinced it's going to take over That's What She Said, which was a takeover of In Your Pants. Remember when In Your Pants jokes were the big thing?
Oh, yeah.
And then The Office came on, and it was That's What She Said.
And then Brooklyn Nine-Nine came on, and that was the name of your sex tape.
Yep. Now it's, you stop someone, no matter what they're saying, you go, that's racist. Dude, that's racist.
All right, so I get to say this joke. I was hanging out with some people a long time ago, land far, far away. One of them was a little Asian, partially Asian, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be going to this 1960s party. I'm going to make some really racist jokes about how we always do these theme parties where black people wouldn't be invited, and I'm just going to say racist jokes." And this little Asian guy comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, I got a good one." I'm like, do tell. And like I said, long time ago, like almost out of memory. And he's like, what's the difference? This is not my joke. I'm repeating it from an Asian, a minority. I get away with it. He's like, what's the difference between winter tires and black people? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, winter tires don't sing when you put chains on them. Oh,
Like, I can't believe you left at that. That's despicable.
that's racist.
That's racist.
Just for anything at all, you just say that's racist.
I think I want spaghetti for dinner. That's racist.
That cultural appropriation. Yep.
I think it's gonna be the next one.
It could be. Do you know what I learned? Have you ever said? I know I have, and I'll admit to it. Have you ever said, I haven't seen you in a coon's age?
Yeah, I heard that.
Not racist. I looked it up. I checked. I got really okay. I'm a little. If I'm going to speak, I want to speak in the most correct way possible. And saying something in a coon's age, I'm like, that's bad. And then I looked it up. No, I'm good. I'm in the clear. Not racist. It was thought for a long time that
raccoon listeners. And they're gonna blow up your social media.
Oh yes,
telling you how many ways it's offensive.
Anyone who worked on the Raccoons cartoon or what's that other one? Guardians of the Galaxy. That's a coonist. You can hit me up. Call me a.
The antagonist of raccoons, were they pigs?
I thought they were raccoons.
Well, like the protagonist.
Oh, the
protagonist.
protagonist.
Okay,
the antagonist. Yeah, they were pigs.
They were pigs? That's what I thought. I was having this conversation with the guy I worked the other day. That's weird that you brought it up.
Do you know what's really funny? My buddy's dad was an animator for that show back in the day in Quebec when I lived there. His dad was an animator for that show.
Wow.
So, small world.
Small world.
I learned about it 15 years after I've seen the cartoon. Kind of grew up watching it. And then my buddy's like, oh yeah, that's my dad. And I'm like, what? No, it's not. And I met him. I'm like, oh, okay, you look like a raccoon. He didn't.
No.
He was French.
Yeah,
he was a dirty Frenchman. So.
That's racist.
I get to say that. I'm French. At least half French, anyways. I am so French that I have to spell my last name. There's no saying it. And everyone, they do this stupid thing where I spell it and they're like, how do you say that? I'm like, does it matter?
Well, to be fair, if I was born 30 years later and not necessarily automatically took my father's last name, my last name could have been Laurando, so I would have been just as French as you are.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And you would speak as much French as I do now.
Which is none.
Which is nearly none. I'm really good at swearing. I'm sure. No, Ben didn't say. Ben was very good at that. He never really spoke French in front of us.
Only when he was on the phone with his mom.
That's right. When he was on the phone with his mom.
Blow in and out of English and French all the time. I
forgot about that. Yeah, he totally.
And then there was one time I put the television on the French channel and I was reading with subtitles while he was on the phone with his mom, and I read them in French. And he's like, "You speak French?" And I was like, "I have no idea what I just said." I could read it like I understand. Nope, no clue.
No, I don't have time for that shit.
I don't speak English properly. I don't have time for a second language.
Right? That being said, I went to Mexico and I was like picking up words. I'm like, that's strange. I know that word. Oh, I know that one. And I'm like, oh yeah, Latin-based language.
Oh yeah, cerveza means beer. Of course I recognize that one.
All right. With that being said, you go to Mexico, dos cerveza, por favor, and that because you, by the time you're done your first one and you're ready for a second one, it won't be ready. You have to wait forever. So just always
You
get
order two at a time.
Always
to
get
make
two.
It for the little ground. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, I said it so well when I did go to Mexico, and I've got a darker complexion to me. And last time I went, I had like a short
You
haul.
were woken up at Heathrow Airport with the Uzis in your face? Or was it
Yes,
G5?
no, they were MP5s.
MP5, that's what it was. Right.
And
You had a full beard.
I did have a full beard, and I went to Ukraine, and
Just say your olive-toned complexion is a bit of an understatement.
yeah. So when I go to Mexico, people start speaking Spanish to me like I know how to speak Spanish, and I'm like, no, that was it. I got dos cerveza por favor, and that's it. That's all I got. And so when they do start speaking, and we got randomly selected at the border when coming back from the Baja Peninsula area there. So Tijuana, I guess it would be. When we were coming back, we got randomly selected, and they're like, "You, where are you from?" I'm like, I'm from Canada. It's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
No one made that mistake with me at all.
No.
Mostly because I was bright red.
Mm-hmm. You're half ginger.
After wearing SPF 100.
Mm-hmm.
And I disappointed so many wonderful Spanish people. Because when you say you're from Calgary, Alberta, they're like, oh, Stampede, Calgary Flames, eh? They get really excited about that. And you're like, I hate the Stampede and I don't watch hockey. And they you just watch their face just drop, and they're like, I have nothing more to say to you. What do you want to buy?
That was it. That was everything they knew, and you just stole it from them.
I crushed their whole dreams of starting a conversation.
With that being said, I do want to point out something. When we did go to Ukraine back in the day, our translator Yana, I didn't know that she was within the age of I could have me a bride brought back to Canada age, and
we could have both.
Seriously, and she was very nice and polite and beautiful young lady, and I was like, oh, she treated herself like a woman did, and we were. She was 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Like I said, like right in that age of like, why didn't I know that when we started this trip? I would have been like, want to come to Canada? Come on.
Remember the curdled milk sunburn relief remedy?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had such a horrible sunburn that...
Yours was the back, mine was my chest, right?
No, my chest. Mine was on my chest.
Yours was on your chest? Okay, that's what it was.
And they put cream, like coffee cream or milk or whatever on our sunburns, and it curdled. That's how much we were burning up.
And then I sandblasted them off playing volleyball the next day.
Yeah, that was a rough time.
And then, speaking of the same teenage daughter of your father-in-law's, almost got jumped by two girls at the McDonald's because they thought we were together.
I wasn't there for that.
No, you were outside still.
I was outside. I didn't want to go to McDonald's in Ukraine. I'm like, we're in Ukraine. I'm not going to McDonald's. Come on.
The only thing that was open.
Yeah.
That we could understand.
Yeah, that's right. Because you can go like this as like number 4.
Yeah. We were sitting at the same table together, and I had a ring on my ring finger.
Yeah.
I was playing with it because it was a spinner ring, because that was cool at the time.
Oh, so cool.
And these two girls were sitting across the dining room, and I started staring daggers at her like I thought I was going to have to escort her out of the dining room.
Oh, yeah. Okay, do you remember sitting in the windows and her throwing Cheerios in her mouths from like across the room? Or was that just me? That might have been just me. Cheerios in my mouth. Just because there was nothing to do. We were in Ukraine. I didn't want to go to bed. I'm like, this is so
Speaking
cool.
of Ukraine, you were witness to one more exorcism during. Remember the open air service we did?
Oh,
Where is that? In the
Kiev?
Crimea.
In the Crimea region.
Crimea region. So we did our skit, we sang some songs, and then we did a prayer service for a bunch of people that were there. You remember that part?
I vaguely remember it.
So you were doing your thing, walking around praying for the people who were praying for people,
Yeah.
which awesome. Good job, bud. I agree with that.
It's easy. It's easy.
Oh, no,
they don't speak English.
It's necessary. Don't worry about it. I was praying for this one older lady, and I thought, because I didn't have a translator at the time, she was walking around to 4 or 5 of us that were praying for people. Now I was laying hands on her, and I thought I was praying because she was coughing. So I just started praying for her. And she starts coughing more and more and more and more and more and more and more, till she just starts screaming. And then she kind of collapsed. I kind of tried to catch her and help her to the ground gently.
Yeah.
And then she kind of crawls away. And the translator comes over later, and she says that she felt something leave her, and her thoughts aren't as dark anymore. I was like, I thought she had a sore throat.
I was praying for a sore throat the whole time.
I was just praying in tongues. Because that's what you do when you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And apparently, yeah.
You exercised.
No, her faith got that demon out of her. I had no idea what was going on.
That's... I want to... You bring this up right near the end, and there's so much to unpack on that one. Oh man, the world's a funny place.
Rapid fire, go.
It's just
Dive in. We'll
yeah.
just do it quickly. No more rabbit holes. Remember how we were talking about rabbit holes? This is the worst episode yet.
No. If you do want to listen to the worst episode yet, you listen to Mike Goes Solo. That was horrible. I didn't know what to talk about. I just started going on like climate change and
And then with the I Love Me jackets are on their way, Mike. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, there are far worse episodes than this one, I'll tell you that. But we do got to have you back on, maybe to talk about free will again as a mediator between the two of us. Because I really feel like there's more there, and I have, because we had that conversation since then, we've had...
so long for you to get to conscious and unconscious thought. I'm sorry.
I know, but I don't know if you notice it, but sometimes I will bring something up and Devin says, we'll get there. And he'll like he'll derail it and be like, no, we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get there. And I'm like, can we get there now? How about now?
Well, maybe when I come up, we'll just have to record like 3 episodes.
We could do that. That is not hard. It was just buy 3 bottles of whiskey and no, we're not that bad.
Will just be us incoherently rambling into the microphone at the same time.
I would be remiss to say that hasn't happened before. Not with me. Not with me. The first Travis, we ordered pizza. We ordered wings. We went for 3 hours. He was yelling past the microphone. He would he'd be talking over here, and you can't even hear him. And he would just be all over the place. And I'm like, dude, you gotta fucking stop. And he was mixing, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed hanging out with him. None of you all will hear any of that episode until we start getting paid, and then I will release it and be like, this is not to be held liable.
Good soundbite.
Oh, it's so bad.
It'll be your clickbait on your Facebook reel.
It'll be right up there with the, hey, we need to do what the Spartans did. And they'll be like, you mean little boy butt stuff? And he's like, what? What are you talking about? Spartans were into butt stuff. Just put it out there. It was a thing. You don't know it, look it up.
Spartans, the Greeks, the Romans.
Yeah, they all were little boys.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's history. Get over it. I got over it. My
Why-
family owns slaves.
What do you mean you got over it?
I said what I said. My family owns slaves, and I'm over it.
My family was never rich enough to own slaves.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of Irish slaves that get overlooked, but
Yep.
don't worry about that.
But you're still white, so it's better off.
Right?
Yeah, it's all the same to some people. Do you know where the word slave comes from?
No idea.
Slavs. Slavic. Slavs.
Czechoslovakia,
Slovakia.
not a place anymore.
Also, white as fuck. So, the word itself, it pretty much means white. I hate to take another thing from the black man, but technically, yeah, I think you're onto something.
In another life, I was a comedian.
Yes. Yeah. You got to get back into the not DJing, maybe MCing. You could do MC. Have you ever, how many weddings you MC'd?
One that I remember.
That you remember?
There's a few people who haven't got married yet that have sworn that they want me as an MC. So
Yeah. It's
on them for not finding spouses yet.
yeah. I like those people. I've stopped befriending people. Here's the thing. I'm coming to the age where my friends' kids are having marriages and shit like that. So I know I'm going to be asked again. I am getting old. I am a couple of years older than you are. And
This isn't your birthday episode, but it's real close to.
it's really close. And 40's not too far away. And so I know I'm going to be doing more MCing. And it's going to happen.
380 days? 380 days?
Something like that. But it's not far away, and I am good at it. That's the thing. I am surprisingly, I surprise me how good I am at it. And this last wedding I went to, I look so good. I don't like to brag because I don't have a whole lot going for me here. I look pretty good for this wedding. I did a great job.
For my brother-in-law's wedding, I was wearing a kilt.
A kilt?
My first kilt.
A true kilt?
A true kilt. It was very nice. I liked it a lot, actually.
What I mean is you went Freebird?
Was I a true Scotsman? No.
No.
It was a family wedding. I'm not doing that.
I have a friend who says that if you're wearing underwear, it's a dress.
I'm Irish, so Irish people also wore kilts, but they're not as brave as Scotsmen.
Yeah.
Hence why we're hiding on the island of Ireland.
That's right.
But my wife's uncle was talking to her, and my wife was wearing this gorgeous dress. She looked amazing.
Yeah.
It was full length, kind of like medieval looking. And her uncle was quite drunk. Says pleasantries and everything like that. And then as he's starting to walk away, he turns around and looks back at her and goes, "Why is your husband wearing a shorter skirt than you?"
Oh, that's gold. I love uncle. I want to be that uncle. So
You are that uncle. Don't worry about it.
Look at this mustache. Come on.
Right?
It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm keeping it. If I gotta be in the field and I have to if I have to shave, the mustache must stay.
I only shave because it's only this and it looks terrible.
Yeah. I miss the beard though.
Mennonites.
Yeah. It's a back beard. Straight back beard.
Then neck beard.
That's what Kickstand had. Anyways, I think we should tie this thing up. It's been a lot of fun. I wish we could keep going, but at the same time, I have to work tomorrow, and I think you do too. Yeah,
11:30.
It's 11:30 for you, 10:30 for me, and yeah, I'm fucking tired. So everyone else, I'm just gonna kick you all out of here. So God bless. I don't want to say fuck off, but have a great day.
Whatever salutations